Everyone wants the unicorn, the car that hits 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, never breaks down, and costs peanuts to run. We scour the classifieds convinced we will find it. Here is the hard truth: that car does not exist. In the engineering world, we call this the impossible triangle. The 3 points are fast, reliable, and cheap. The rule is simple: you can pick 2. If it is fast and reliable, it will not be cheap. If it is fast and cheap, it will not be reliable. And if it is cheap and reliable, it certainly will not be fast. Most buyers fail because they refuse to accept this trade-off. They buy a high-mileage German luxury sedan thinking they hacked the system, only to be bankrupt by a repair bill. Or they buy an economy car and spend thousands trying to make it fast, ruining its reliability. We are going to stop doing that. We are breaking down the 3 distinct pillars of car ownership: performance, practicality, and maintenance. To buy the right car, you have to admit what you actually need versus what you think you want. Let's start with the most seductive category: the performance priority. Real performance is not just about 0 to 60 times. It is about chassis balance, braking confidence, and the connection between your hands, your feet, and the asphalt. If you prioritize engagement, you are choosing involvement over ease. You want a car that demands your attention. Generally, there are 2 schools of thought here. First, you have the American muscle approach. This is the philosophy that displacement determines dominance. You are looking at cars like the Mustang GT or the Camaro SS. The value proposition here is incredible. You get high horsepower per dollar and a relatively simple, naturally aspirated V8 engine. These engines are lazy, torque-rich monsters that make great noises and are generally robust. However, you often pay for that engine with a heavier, less sophisticated chassis. It is a sledgehammer, not a scalpel. The interior might feel cheap, but when you step on the gas, the car rotates the earth beneath you. Contrast that with the European approach. Think BMW M3, Porsche Cayman, or an Audi RS model. Here you are not paying for raw displacement, you are paying for precision. You get forced induction, complex turbocharging systems, and lightning-fast dual-clutch transmissions that shift faster than you can blink. The handling is sharper, the steering is more communicative, and the car feels lighter on its feet. But this precision introduces a layer of complexity that the American V8 lacks. You have more sensors, more cooling loops, and tighter tolerances. If you choose the performance priority, you must accept the trade-offs. First is comfort. A suspension tuned to keep a car flat through a corner at 90 miles an hour will feel like a jackhammer on your daily commute. Every pothole and expansion joint, you will feel it. This is the price of handling. Then there is the issue of consumables. High-performance cars eat tires. If you are buying a car with sticky summer compound tires, do not expect them to last 20,000 miles. You will be lucky to see 5,000 to 8,000 miles before they are bald. And these are not cheap tires. They are wide, specialized rubber that can cost $2,000 a set. Think of a performance car like a human body training for a 1-rep max lift. You are optimizing the system for maximum output. When you lift heavy, you put immense stress on your joints, your tendons, and your central nervous system. A performance car is doing the same thing. It generates massive amounts of heat and friction. High horsepower creates thermal stress that cooks gaskets, degrades fluids, and wears out bushings faster than a standard commuter car. It does not matter if it is a reliable brand. Physics is physics. If you drive a car hard, you are accelerating the aging process of every single component. Finally, there is the fuel economy reality check. If you want 500 horsepower, do not complain about single-digit miles per gallon in the city. You are burning fuel to generate power and noise. That is the deal. If you find yourself staring at the gas gauge with anxiety, or calculating how much a trip to the grocery store costs in premium fuel, you are in the wrong category. Performance is a pay-to-play game. You are buying a toy, a machine designed to turn money into adrenaline. If you are not willing to deal with the heat, the noise, the stiff ride, and the constant consumption of expensive fluids and rubber, you need to be honest with yourself. You might like the idea of a fast car, but you might not want the reality of living with one. Now we pivot to the absolute opposite end of the spectrum. If the performance car is the bodybuilder attempting a one-rep max, this category is the marathon runner focusing on health and longevity. This pillar is about one thing: getting from point A to point B every single time, without drama. It is the foundation of automotive transportation. But we need to define our terms carefully because reliability is often misunderstood. True reliability is not just a car that never breaks. That is a statistical impossibility. Every machine fails eventually. True reliability is predictable behavior. It is long, consistent intervals between failures. It is the peace of mind that comes from knowing that when you turn the key at 6 in the morning on a freezing Tuesday, the engine will catch. You are not listening for a new rattle or smelling for burning coolant. You are simply commuting. This brings us to the Toyota tax. In the used market, reliability is a currency, and Toyota holds the reserve currency status. You will often see a 10-year-old Tacoma or 4Runner listing for prices that defy logic, sometimes rivaling the cost of a brand new luxury car. The market has decided that the badge on the grille is an insurance policy against breakdowns. But you have to run the math. Sometimes paying a $5,000 premium for a reliable badge to avoid a $2,000 repair bill on a competitor does not make financial sense. Furthermore, you are often paying that premium for a driving experience that is intentionally numb. To achieve that level of unbreakability, manufacturers often use older, less efficient technology. You get a 4-speed automatic and an engine that feels agricultural because those parts have been stress tested since the 90s. Here's a counterintuitive take that many enthusiasts miss. A modern so-called unreliable European car might actually be a safer bet than a neglected domestic economy car. Take the BMW B48 and B58 engines found in the modern 3 Series or the X3. These are modular engines that have proven to be incredibly stout, capable of high mileage with proper care. Contrast that with a cheap domestic sedan that has been treated like a disposable razor by its previous owner, oil changes skipped, transmission fluid never flushed, driven hard on cold starts. In that scenario, the reliable choice is the one with the better service history, regardless of the country of origin. Reliability is as much about the owner as it is about the factory. When we look at the American approach to practicality, we have to talk about the truck and SUV platform. Vehicles like the Ford F-150 or the Chevy Tahoe dominate for a reason. They utilize body-on-frame construction. This separates the cabin from the chassis, making them heavy but incredibly durable. They can jump curbs, absorb massive potholes, and tow heavy loads without the chassis twisting or cracking. A unibody crossover like a RAV4 or a CR-V is essentially just a tall hatchback. It offers utility, but it lacks that structural durability. If your daily environment involves rough roads or heavy work, the truck platform offers a type of reliability that a crossover physically cannot match. However, there is a middle ground that Americans consistently ignore: the European wagon. If you want maximum utility but hate the driving dynamics of a truck, look at a Volvo V60 or an Audi Allroad. You get the cargo capacity of an SUV, but because the car sits lower to the ground, you maintain a lower center of gravity. This translates to better handling, better braking, and better fuel economy. It is the logical choice for someone who needs space but refuses to drive a bus. Ultimately, prioritizing this goal requires a sacrifice. You are trading soul for stability. You are buying an appliance, not a toy. You do not love your refrigerator, you just trust it to keep the milk cold. That is the relationship you have with a purely practical car. It fades into the background of your life, asking for nothing, but giving you no thrill in return. This brings us to the third pillar, and frankly, this is the one that ruins people financially. We need to talk about the actual cost of keeping the machine alive. This is often the biggest blind spot for buyers because they conflate reliability with maintenance. But they are two completely different economic concepts. Reliability refers to the frequency of repair. How often does the car leave you stranded? Maintenance refers to the cost of repair. How much it hurts your wallet when it inevitably needs service. You can have a car that is incredibly reliable, meaning it rarely breaks, but has astronomical maintenance costs. Take a modern Porsche, for example. It is statistically very unlikely to fail you. The engineering is robust. But when you hit a standard service interval, say a 60,000-mile major service, you are not paying Ford prices. A simple water pump replacement on a domestic V8 might cost you $400 at a local shop. That same job on a complex German engine could easily cost 4 times that amount. The part itself is more expensive, but the real killer is the labor. This leads directly into the do-it-yourself factor. If you plan to turn your own wrenches, the country of origin dictates your weekend experience. Open the hood of a Mustang GT or a Corvette. You see an engine, you see space. You can reach the spark plugs without disassembling the cowl. You can buy the parts at any local auto store on a Sunday afternoon. The engineering philosophy here is accessible. It assumes that parts will be swapped out and makes it relatively easy to do so. Now contrast that with a tight European engine bay. Open the hood of a modern Audi or Mercedes. You do not see an engine, you see plastic covers. Underneath those covers, you find a packaging miracle where 5 pounds of engine are stuffed into a 3-pound bag. To change an alternator, you might have to put the car into service position, which involves removing the front bumper and radiator support. You need specialized Torx bits, triple square sockets, and proprietary tools that you will use exactly once. It gets worse. Modern luxury cars require proprietary software just to perform basic tasks. On many modern BMWs, you cannot simply swap out the battery. You have to register the new battery to the car's engine control unit so the alternator knows how to charge it properly. If you do not, you fry the new battery in a month. This barrier to entry forces you out of your driveway and into the dealership service bay, where labor rates are exorbitant. We also have to discuss the depreciation curve as a hidden maintenance cost. There is a seductive trap in the used market where you see a flagship luxury sedan, an S-Class or a 7 Series, selling for $20,000. It looks like a steal. You think you are getting a $100,000 car for the price of a Honda Civic. But here is the rule. A cheap luxury car is the most expensive car you will ever own. You are paying $20,000 for the chassis, but the parts prices are still pegged to the original $100,000 manufacturer suggested retail price. You need to have a repair fund set aside that is roughly equal to the money you saved on the purchase price. We also need to challenge the bias against certain brands. The internet loves to hate on brands like Alfa Romeo or Jaguar, calling them ticking time bombs. But a well-documented enthusiast-owned Alfa might be a safer financial bet than a reliable Honda that has been neglected. Enthusiast cars often receive preventative maintenance. This is the practice of fixing things before they break. It scares the average consumer because they see a stack of receipts and think, wow, this car needed a lot of work. No, that car received the care it needed to stay healthy. The Honda with 0 receipts is not reliable. It is a deferred maintenance grenade waiting for you to pull the pin. We have analyzed the 3 pillars: performance, practicality, and maintenance. Now we need to synthesize this into a decision flow. You cannot have it all, so you need to pick which 2 pillars matter most to your real life, not your fantasy life. Scenario A. You want performance plus maintenance ease. You want to go fast, you want to make noise, but you do not want to need a degree in computer science to change your oil. The answer here is almost always American muscle. You are looking for a Mustang GT, a Camaro SS, or a Corvette. You get incredible speed and a visceral driving experience. The parts are cheap, the knowledge base is massive, and any mechanic in the country can work on them. The trade-off is that you have to live with a lower quality interior and a chassis that feels large and heavy on a technical road. You are trading sophistication for raw, accessible power. Scenario B. You want performance plus practicality. You need a car that can tear up a back road on Sunday, but still carry clients or kids on Monday. You are willing to pay for this duality. The answer is the super sedan or the hot hatch. Think BMW M340i or Volkswagen Golf R. They are engineering marvels that do everything well. They are fast, they handle beautifully, and they have usable back seats and trunks. But you pay a premium for this. The purchase price is high, and as we discussed, the complexity means that when things go wrong out of warranty, it will get expensive fast. You are paying for the privilege of having no compromises in the driving experience. Scenario C, practicality plus low maintenance. You want practicality and low stress. You want a car that works, low running costs, and decent features, but you do not want to pay the Toyota tax for a boring, outdated interior. The answer here is the Korean contenders. Look at a Hyundai Sonata, a Kia Sportage, or if you have a bit more budget, a Genesis G70. Over the last decade, these brands have closed the reliability gap significantly, and they still offer way more tech and features for the money than their Japanese rivals. More importantly, they offer industry-leading warranties. You get a car that looks modern, drives well, and protects your wallet for 10 years or 100,000 miles. You avoid the boredom of a base model economy car without taking on the financial risk of a used German luxury car. This is the smart money choice for the daily grind. Here's the bottom line. No car wins every single category. The perfect car is simply the one where you can accept the flaws. Before you sign anything, dig deeper. Research the specific model year, because one bad transmission design can ruin a reliable reputation. Do not just listen to generic advice. Stop trying to impress your neighbors or the internet. Look at your budget. Be honest about your mechanical skills and pick the car that actually fits your primary goal. That is the only way to win this game. Which one would you choose? Let me know below. If you want to know what the best-selling car in history is, watch this video next.